Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film would become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, welcome back to the show, people, where we are talking Tim Burton films as Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is out at the cinemas, but this is the part of the show where we have a look back at your Instagram responses from the previous 2 episodes, because last episode was a rewind episode because it was our official summer break. So that episode was on aliens, alien movies, because Alien Romulus was out. And so Anton Kinelov went with Aliens from 1987, and Take on the Academy went with Alien. So Leigh, I'm curious, what is your alien film of choice? As you have been on the show before and picked one of the alien films. Change your heart or sticking with Aliens?
Sticking with Aliens. I still stick with that one. Because that's the first one I saw. That was the first one that got me right into it. Yeah. And as we've spoken about, it's the one that's got the most action-packed. Yeah. And it's got the iconic line.
Absolutely. Get away from her, you bitch.
Bitch. Or most recently, get away from her. Bitch.
You bitch. I quite like that riff on it. But no one else does, apparently, but it's fine.
I just like the pause. Just the,
yeah.
You bitch. Like he's questioning it.
Yeah. But our last proper episode with Matt from the Matt and Mark Movie Show, we did video game adaptations, and only one response for that week from Elle and Chris from Spoil My Movie, and they went with the original Resident Evil movie from Paul W.S. Anderson, and I think I probably would go with that as well if I didn't cover that in the first episode we did on video game adaptations, because that was the second episode we had done on that. So Leigh, I'm curious, what's your video game adaptation of choice for you?
My favorite, most recently, would have to be Fallout.
Okay. What, the TV show?
The TV show that just hit everything on the right marks. Yeah. It did fantastic. All the acting, the sets was fantastic. But probably before that, probably a video game adaptation. Definitely not Halo. That was terrible and that was shit. That's definitely not anywhere near it.
Okay.
But
what about a movie though?
I'd say Gran Turismo. Turismo I found was a good adaptation across to the big screen. And from that being based on a true story, I think they nailed that out of the park. And as I've said multiple times in my podcast, is I think officially now the video game curse is fully lifted. Because it was a period of time there where anything goes video game to movie turned out to be shit.
Yeah.
Well,
you say that. I guess it's definitely lifted in TV, not necessarily in movies. There's a few gems out there for sure, but
more of a hit and miss.
Yeah.
But I'd pick the first Resident Evil movie. The first Resident Evil movie is just so good, and then then you look back at everything that followed after.
Yeah, not great.
No, all 7 sequels.
Yeah. So we're talking Tim Burton movies. It's your turn, Leigh. What did you go for?
I picked Batman Returns. I was still almost going to do Batman, but I thought, I felt like that one's usually the biggest topic in discussion when we talk about the Batman. But Batman Returns just sets it apart from that first Batman so much, and is a lot darker.
Yes, unexpectedly darker for sure. Where you're like, ew, what the fuck?
I don't want any fish ever again.
Yeah. Were there any other movies in contention for you, or was it just like Batman or Batman Returns?
The probably other one I was always thinking was Frankenweenie. That was the other one that I was thinking about, and Sweeney Todd.
Oh yeah, I do love Sweeney Todd. Yeah, very similar to kind of in tone to Sleepy Hollow as well.
Yeah, and a core of the same cast.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Probably that one, but I just thought, I thought Batman Returns. I just thought, because of Michael Keaton too, it just fit better.
Yeah, definitely. So what happens in Batman Returns, Leigh?
So Batman Returns, as the plot says, Batman does return. We return back to Gotham, and a new threat has risen called the Penguin. And it is also a Christmas movie too. I don't care what people say. It's also a Christmas movie. And as a new threat rises, Batman returns, and we also see the emergence of a brand new villain called Catwoman, which Michelle Pfeiffer absolutely nails perfectly. It's fantastic. It has one of the most iconic scenes. And in this, we see the Penguin rise to become mayor, and we see Michael Keaton get as iconic as his role of Batman, pushed to his limits, which ends in a fantastic fight at the end.
Absolutely. So I think initial reactions for me, like the first time I saw this, I was, really impressed as a kid. Like, this is really cool. They definitely step it up in terms of what they can do with the Batmobile and what Batman can do. And that, there's more villains in here, so I was kind of really impressed as a kid, but watching, because this is not the first time we've covered this on the podcast. We've covered it on our Batman films episode, where that was Batman Returns which was our choice, me and Boaz's choice when he was on the show, against Batman and Robin. So that wasn't a particularly easy fight, but and that was our first guests we had ever on the show from Film Me In, some students from Manchester up north, and they were just like, let's do the worst one. I'm like, okay. This is a competition podcast, but sure. Okay.
Why not?
So we have had that was one of two hate picks we've ever had on the show, which is interesting. The other one was on our high concept horror films, and John from Life is But a Song podcast went with It Follows, and he hated that one, which is interesting. I quite like that. But watching it again for this, I feel like I'm liking this film less and less, which is a real shame, because I think you can really you can really see like the edges of the filmmaking, and there's one particular part where you just feel sad for the film. You're like, oh no, that just went horribly wrong. And you feel like they couldn't do it again and they just had to go with it. But there's no doubt, Michelle Pfeiffer is the standout by like a long way in this. She is incredible. The best Catwoman still in Batman movies and in TV.
The four we've been on live action, she's still been the best.
Absolutely, yeah. Story-wise, it's really interesting, but I think it still feels a little basic and a little muddled, and sometimes they're not really sure how to like fit in all these characters into like a cohesive story.
Spider-Man 3 problem?
A little bit, yeah. I think the problem is that when the film is focusing on Max Schreck, Christopher Walken's character, and the Penguin as your main kind of driving force for the villains, and yet the best villain in the film is Catwoman. It's kind of, and they try and fit her into the plot as well. You feel like there's definitely two plots going on, and the more interesting one is the subplot and not the main plot with the Penguin and Max Schreck. So it's frustrating in that perspective, and they try and interweave like Catwoman with the Penguin, and they only really get like one scene, and it's a bit disappointing.
A creepy scene.
Yeah. So it's, not one, it's like two, I think, with the bird and the cat. That was cool. But yeah, so not as good as I remember, let's say. How about you?
Rewatching it, like, it's funny, like, rewatching it again, I was like, I still feel like a kid when I watch it. I see Batman on the big screen again. like for me on that side of things, it is definitely like right up there with me. But you're right. Like when you bring down the curtain and start just like analyzing that a little bit more, you're like, yeah, like little things. And you're right. And it's funny, like pretty much like one of the obviously stands now is almost like the Joker effect, thanks to the Dark Knight, is where when the villain's on screen, you're wanting to know more about the villain than you do than what you give a shit to the actual main character, actually the actual hero that's meant to be. And I think looking back on this, I go, yeah, well, it's right. Like Michelle's Catwoman, you want to see her more on screen than you do Batman.
Yeah. I think that is another issue as well, because Batman and Bruce Wayne, he's not in it that much.
No,
to be honest,
to the first one, no, he's not.
He's really not.
His screen time would be so limited, and that's probably one thing I don't. That's one thing I've completely forgot since I last. I was like, he's actually not in this as much as I remember him being in, and obviously the disappearing and reappearing eyeliner. You definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
But no, and probably again, as always, just remember how, like I said before, knowing how dark this actually is. Kids just getting tossed away, and the creepy scene with Penguin floating around in the water, in the blood. And I'm like, wow, I watched this as a kid, and I didn't. Yeah, I don't think this messed me up. I really don't think it did.
Just haven't realised.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right. Directing then. I kind of love the opening sequence where we hear like the penguin being born and he's all kind of locked up in a cage and eats his parents' cat. You get like a little tease of what he looks like from inside the cage. Like I love the title sequence following his cot down the sewers, and you see like a little shadow change from a cot to a penguin, which was nicely subtly done. Plus there's like no dialogue at all, and I always kind of love an opening that's just visual storytelling, so that was a pretty good start.
And in fact that's Pee Wee Herman too.
Yeah.
Dad's Pee Wee Herman, and then I'm pretty sure he also came back in the Gotham TV show too to play the same role.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I loved the opening battle scene where all these kind of goons jump out of a giant Christmas present. You definitely get this very like Tim Burton feel to these to their costumes. Very kind of fantastical comic book outfits, like similar to Schumacher's style with Forever and Batman and Robin, but they look dirty and lived in, and ultimately they feel far more dangerous. Like one guy is wielding like a minigun in a present type thing. That was awesome.
With the wind up.
Yeah. Plus the grand nature of Bruce Wayne's introduction with the bat signal was great. Definitely one of the iconic moments of the film for me. Just felt very epic. Then for me, like the best Batmobile ever, I think. Plus you see kind of gadget after gadget, mainly just like sticking bits of metal out to like knock people over, but sure.
yeah. I completely
kind of like air brakes.
Yeah, you could put a hook straight into a cement block and pull it. That's Batman.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look, probably going back is when he stands up and the music kicks in, like that iconic theme, I still get chills down my spine. And when I hear that, and that's I think that's something. Even though arguably the Batman is the better movie, that's one of the most iconic scenes in Batman film and television ever. No, I don't think there would be very little, if anything, will ever top that scene.
Yeah, definitely. But I think my favorite like Batmobile gadget was just a really practical one, as like a platform just like appears on the ground and literally just turns the car in the right direction.
Yeah,
that was kind of funny, but like, that's quite practical. Well done, Batman.
Yeah,
because it's a very long car, so got to have some practicality gadgets in there somewhere.
Yeah, you go do a quick turn.
Yeah. Because obviously you had that, isn't in the first film, like he fires like a grapple hook thing to the wall to get round a corner.
Yeah, it swings.
So again, another kind of like practical gadget for the Batmobile's mobility.
Oh, and
that
the shielding.
It's kind of funny.
The CGI shielding when he wants to park the car.
Oh yeah.
As well, I was like, yeah, I guess I'll put that on too. If I had a car like that, knowing how much that's going to cost.
But do you have any favourite moments from like the opening battle scene?
Probably the clown with the dynamite.
Oh right, yeah.
That's probably one of the ones I always laugh when he's got that. And I always love that scene because it's always an argument you see people say. He's like, "Oh, Batman doesn't kill people. Dynamite puts him down a chute, lets him explode." It's like, yeah, he doesn't kill people. He doesn't.
No, the dynamite killed him, not Batman.
Exactly right. Yeah, same with Batman Begins. Yeah, he jumps off the train. The train killed him.
Yeah. There was no physical contact with Batman.
I didn't touch him. I'm not the last thing that touched him, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, probably that. And like in that, obviously, we get Michelle Pfeiffer her being very helpless very soon on, and probably that scene as well when he literally puts a hook into a cement block and pulls out a perfect piece to take out the goon.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think it's just because a reflection of how run down Gotham City is that he feels like he can do that. The buildings are in a bad way. That's why they the people are kind of rioting a little bit in the movie, and they want a new mayor. So
fair, yeah,
Gotham's not in a great place, so Batman feels like he has the ability to do that.
Is it ever in a great place? It's never in a great place. No. You look at every single Batman film, there's something wrong. Either it's a hospital that's blowing up, or it's martial law.
Yeah, definitely. But that's what's great about like the Batman films, really, which you don't necessarily get with a lot of other superhero franchises, is that the people of the city, the people of Gotham, are the main kind of focus, the main objective to save for Batman's story in his films. So I always kind of always respect that the people of Gotham is always front and center of what Batman's got to do, what the villains are trying to manipulate, So
yeah, and his mission with the people, you don't get that in Iron Man. You don't get that in Captain America. Oh, there could be an argument there, but Hulk. You don't really get that in that type because because how much he loves the city, and that's why he's trying to protect it. But yes, a lot again. The city is dark, grim, and very, very, very not lit.
Of course, it's Gotham.
Yeah,
I love those memes with certainly the latest Batman. Matt Reeves is the Batman. I love that film. I think it's definitely up there with The Dark Knight for me, apart from one particular scene, but that's another podcast.
Ooh.
But yeah, where there are some scenes where you can barely see Batman. I'm into that kind of stuff, but it's great. I saw a meme once where you've got to go from the 1960s Batman where he's completely lit, you can see everything, the goofy look, and it just slowly gets darker, and then you get to Pattinson and you can barely see the dude. It's great.
That's true. Sometimes it's just hard to bomb, but you're right. And I always think to myself as like, if you were growing up in this time and you've just watched the Batman TV show, and that was in your mind, if you're like, okay, this is what Batman is, and then you go watch Batman Returns, you'd be like, what the hell happened to this character?
Oh yeah, I mean, was it Adam West was not happy with what Michael Keaton and Tim Burton were doing with the character, famously, and this is a very particular take on the character, and for the most part it's really great. I think the tone of it is it's very, I think this Batman is the perfect comic book character for Tim Burton's style. There's no doubt about that, and it works for the most part, for sure.
And not to mention, it's like you got how dark, how gritty, what we're talking about, Sleepy Hollow. Batman fits in that personality perfectly, and
yet you're still keeping like the comic book fantastical elements of the comic book, which you don't really see much in the the recent adaptations. with Christopher Nolan and Matt Reeves. So
no, that's right. But probably I would say that where the Dark Knight trilogy doesn't do very well compared to the Matt Reeves Batman and the Batman Begins is that Gotham's got really tall buildings, it's skyscraper buildings, everything. You feel like you're in a dense city.
Yeah.
And it's gritty and it's dark, which Tim Burton does so well in both these films. And I always wonder what a third Batman would have looked like.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I find the scenes like the one here where like Selena Kyle like freaks out in her apartment really interesting in how they're directed. Like, does Tim Burton say to Michelle, like, you got all these things here to play with, just go nuts.
Go crazy.
When she first gets kind of bitten by the cats and comes back to her apartment, like certainly there are shots where there's more like direction, but I feel like Tim Burton just lets Michelle Pfeiffer let loose and the camera just reacts to what she's doing, especially when Michelle Pfeiffer just later licks Batman's face.
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, that was that in the script? I also love like the little shot tease of what the costume looks like. It's the same with like the Penguin too. There's like lots of nice little teases here and there. It's drawn out quite nicely. Yeah, because there's that quite iconic shot of you see her in the suit, but it's at a distance, and the hello there is to turn to hell there, or you can definitely read hell instead of hello, as it's a big wide shot outside of her apartment. I just always fascinated in how you kind of direct those scenes, like how much trust there is between the director and the actor when you do kind of these freak out scenes.
Like that gap between. I couldn't agree more. I think she was just given full reign, and I think she was given full reign. I'd say at least 70% between that scene, between the bird.
Yeah.
Between the bird, which is still a weird scene when you watch it. And you're right. And the licking. And who knew that, you can bit by a cat and you get cat powers.
Yeah. That's always a bit of a stretch with Catwoman. It's just like, okay, right.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they're trying to make it feel like somehow that she's turned into a bit of a Catwoman. It's in the title. Got to try and do something here to make it feel. I don't want to say realistic because that's not the right word, but just to make it feel really comic booky, I guess.
Yeah, but not going to the stretch of actual Catwoman with Halle Berry.
Oh no,
which we don't talk about that.
No,
at all.
The last action scene for me is a little disappointing, where like the Batboat is driving through sewers and does a barrel roll around the tunnel. That looked cool, but when Batman tries to intercept the Penguin's duck vehicle, the Batboat seems to get stuck in the wall, and they had to like cut around it a lot because they couldn't hide it really. And it's one of those effects shots that you can only really have one chance to get it right, and unfortunately it failed. Yeah, it just doesn't look great, which is a real shame. Yeah, because if you look closely, it's like bursting through the tunnel and just gets stuck, and they have to, like they can't cut any earlier because then you just the shot won't. It's just nothing to the shot. Otherwise, it'll be split seconds before you cut to the boat landing on the duck vehicle. So it's just a real shame.
Just out of nowhere it lands. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So. That's a real goof of the film, unfortunately.
Yeah, I watching that, I haven't thought twice, but now you point out probably like, that does look a little bit rough. And the duck boats always remind me of The Nightmare Before Christmas as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I look at that and go, like if you don't watch Nightmare Before Christmas, you could tell like, this is the same director. This is the same guy. That last fight scene, I always love the interaction between Batman, Penguin, Catwoman, and Max Schreck. That's always loved that end scene.
Oh, I mean that last kind of like kiss of death, if you will, with Max Schreck, and you get like that You know, and the fact that she's tasering herself as well as electrocuting them both is pretty insane.
His face, like he's...
Yeah, I love that kind of again, Tim Burton very much tries to put sort of cartoon imagery into his live action stuff, as we mentioned in Sleepy Hollow, that it was, for me, it definitely felt a little bit out of place. And here it definitely pushes the boundaries when you see Max Schreck dead, in that when he's got his hair like puffed up and eyes bulging and he's all grey and burnt. You know, again, like you wouldn't look past like a cartoon if you saw that, you know, it would look very similar. It wouldn't, you know, is this a cartoon or not? It's not as bad. It's not as grievous as Sleepy Hollow, I don't think, with the witch scene, but it's still like,
this is more practical.
Is this supposed to be a cartoon?
Yeah, I'm like, so that's what happens when you get tasered for too long. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's definitely a moment where he pushes kind of the Tim Burton tone right to the edge. Definitely. And also where he kind of pushes kind of not just the Tim Burton tone right to the edge, but just kind of maybe the comic book penguinness of the whole thing, when you've got penguins. We've got rockets strapped to the backs of penguins. I'm like, is that penguins too far? I don't know.
Look,
and they seem to have intelligence. Well, they are. I mean, they are intelligent animals. They're sort of.
Hey, be careful. You don't want Peter on your back.
No. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of stretching it a tad for me, watching it back now. But I think you've really got to embrace it a little bit if you...
You do.
Yeah.
You gotta embrace the madness of this world. You know, like, I want penguins with freaking rocket launchers on their backs.
Yeah.
But it's just all part of this world and how freaky it is. And that's, you know, it's funny, actually, again, it was actually really funny that we're talking about this, because the Penguin TV show is coming out in a month's time as well.
Yeah, obviously more of a realistic view on the character for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be penguins with no launches at all.
Does it go too far for you with that, or does that just fit with the Tim Burton tone that the film is going for right from the start?
If this was the first one, I would think it was weird.
Yeah.
But because there's, you know, you have the Batman that you really entered this world going in, and then this. It's not... Look, this is one of the best things about Batman Returns. It's one of the most accurate comic book adaptions, because they go into that mad world. And that's, you know, you admit, when you look at Batman, all of these villains are really mad and weird and wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, Clayface... Clockman, Eggman, yes, that's a real one. You know, it does go in that weird and wonderful, but, you know, even though it have penguins with rocket launchers on it, and it still sits in this world, and you're like, yeah, he's diabolical, it makes sense. But at the same time, you could be like, yes, also does seem like a 50s villain moment.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
These penguins.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I just feel like maybe they could have just found a different way to launch those rockets to have that threat. Huh?
2 penguins strapped together?
Yeah, or maybe just launch the rockets from the duck vehicle, or have another duck... I'm just going from penguins to ducks here, maybe. I don't know. But maybe, just have it a little bit... Just bring that tone back a little bit.
Come back down.
So for me, I think it pushes it a little bit too far with rockets on penguins' backs. But
would you say that's the only thing that you find is a bit too far?
In terms of the design, yeah. In terms of its sexual content, no.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
With its sexual dialogue, I'm like, what? Did he just say that? Okay, that happened. But we'll get to that in lines. My God, I've got a lot of lines written down.
The tension between Penguin and Catwoman, you could cut the air with a knife.
Yeah. But I think my favorite scene or shot is... I think this film has by far the best first meeting between Catwoman and Batman there is, where Batman and the Penguin are having this verbal battle, and Catwoman comes in flipping towards them, and just says meow.
Meow.
Then boom, the shop behind her blows up. Like, what an entrance. That fight they have isn't the greatest, but like the costume and the performance from Michelle Pfeiffer is just awesome to watch from then on. It's just a great iconic moment, by far, like one of the best scenes, if not the best scene in the movie for me.
Absolutely top notch. And it's one of those moments where like you look at Batman and Penguin and they're both like, just what did we just witness, or what is coming towards us? Like,
yeah.
The focus is just so off, like so focused on Michelle Pfeiffer and how, and that scene. And you're right, she just says meow, boom.
Yeah. And it's just the black leather, the fact that she's kind of she's made the suit herself is just kind of a cool thing in itself, and that she's put these kind of literally claws on her fingertips. You know,
yeah.
It's definitely the one costume and one character, even though, yeah, she was bitten kind of by cats as she's fallen to her supposed death.
Cat powers.
You know, it feels the most realistic without... Other than Batman, of course, it feels the most realistic, but still keeping like the Tim Burton tone and style he has. So yeah, as I said, still the best Catwoman there is, and just Michelle Pfeiffer kills it for sure.
With the whipping scene in the mall.
Yeah,
like I remember seeing ages ago. It was like a behind the scenes photo, and they show that I think it was like that she did that in like one take.
Really?
Wow. Like getting all the heads off the mannequin. She did that in like one go, like one take. Because after the scene's done, everyone pretty much stands up and starts clapping because of how good. I was like, God, if you like just missed like that much, like, you know, how much crew's behind you.
Yeah.
But even like that just shows you how badass she is. Like, she would give Indiana Jones a run for his money.
Absolutely. Yeah, she ain't whipping herself in the chin. Absolutely not.
No. At the first go. But, you know, wouldn't look too bad either. Anyway.
Have you got a favourite scene then for you?
My favourite scene would have to be the iconic moment with Batman getting up and seeing the logo. Like, that would have to be one of my favourites. First interaction with Michelle Pfeiffer and Batman talking, and he's like, you know, I got to take you in. And that interaction I always like, because it's that bridge between she's not exactly a villain and he does want to trust her to a degree, but he doesn't want to. And obviously, again, probably the ending scene with the shocker.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The shocker part of it. But it's, you know, it's those, for me, like those small scenes, that's the best that really shine in this. But yeah. Then you get the nice beginning action set piece with the Batmobile. Batman just being absolutely kick-ass in this. That's always a win. And then, you know, you just get small moments like Max pushing Michelle Pfeiffer out the window.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm done with you.
Right, directing score then for me. Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think that kind of that last moment with the Bat boat really brings it down. I think.
Is this going to be a different score to when you reviewed it last time?
Possibly. That's in my other notebook. So I think there's loads to like here for sure. You know, and I think certainly Tim Burton pushes it a bit too much with the whole, you know, as I said, rockets on the back of penguins. That's just too much for me personally.
Well, it was too much for Warner Brothers too.
And when you look at it, like, you want kind of really cool action, and when you kind of analyze it, certainly from Batman's perspective, like, there isn't a lot of cool stuff that he does, like, in terms of choreography and stuff. And I always go into these comic book films like really wanting some creative action, and there's really not a lot there from Batman himself. You get that from Catwoman, but like, there's not much from Batman himself, in my opinion. And I mean, there's some real skill there with Tim Burton in some of his scenes that creates some real surprise, but there's not too much. So I'll go like a 7.7, I think, for me.
Okay.
How about you, sir?
I'd probably go with an 8.
Okay. Same as Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah, probably same as Sleepy Hollow. I think I take that back. Yeah, you said Sleepy Hollow. I'd give it a 7, actually.
Straight 7?
Straight 7, because there's a couple of moments. If we're comparing to Sleepy Hollow, there's definitely more questionable scenes than compared to Sleepy Hollow with his direction and just some of the scenes. And you're right, like Batman really, again, not play second fiddle, but who has the coolest lines, who has the most badass moments, who do you root for through the whole thing? It's not him.
No, this is very much like the Penguin and the Penguin and Catwoman in show,
and Friends.
The Penguin and Catwoman show for me, for sure, which is a bit of a shame. But it's not like Batman is rubbish in this film. We're not saying that. It's just
we're not talking Batman Robin.
No, there aren't any nipples on his suit. That's fine.
Thank God, but still no neck.
Yeah, but I just feel like because he's in the title, you come into these films ultimately to see Batman kick ass and really do some cool stuff that you don't normally see in movies. And I just don't think he fully delivers, and he sort of gets a little bit outshone by the villains. So
Batman returns for 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
Right, screenplay then. This film is all about kind of Shrek. Well, yeah. Just goes straight to the big guy, the big green guy. But yeah, it's the same name. This film is all about Shrek and the Penguin manipulating the people of Gotham. I think they do it fairly convincingly. Looking back, it does feel a little easy, but like the Penguin manipulates the people to follow him to become like the mayor because he has like a sad past, and definitely milks it in the graveyard scene. Like he manipulates people's opinion on Batman with that great scene where he kind of controls the Batmobile and nearly kills him and a few people in the street. But that's about it, really, and uses Catwoman in the process. He even says to Batman, "You've got to admit it, I've played this stinking city like a harp from hell." Like the script does a fairly good job of making the villains feel really intelligent and very like intelligent in a very like fantastical gothic tone. And with Batman as well, like the fact that he responds so quickly by playing the Penguin at his own game, at the Penguin's speech to the city, playing that line through the speakers. But even with that, it feels like Michael Goff's Alfred is doing all the heavy lifting there. And it feels a bit too easy. The character's decisions and plot gives the film like, a little bit more of a grounded and realistic feel, even though it does feel a tad easy. That's why the film feels kind of, exciting and compelling to a level. I mean, it does feel quite easy as well for the Penguin to reach his goals, but at the same time it fits with this very comic booky tone. So I feel like with the script, I feel like it feels certainly clever to a point, and don't forget that this is pre Christopher Nolan Batman, where the plots in those films were kind of felt very realistic, but they were intricate and they had a very clever quality to them. Like a lot of Christopher Nolan films in general, you have to be as intelligent as he is, really, to really understand those films fully, I think. But I mean, with Tenet, that's a whole nother level.
That's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Yeah, but with like Batman Returns, there's definitely some intelligence here with how the plot twists, the plot plays out, but like still the tone, this Tim Burton tone, still comes through, and the plot doesn't distract you too much from really enjoying the fantastical elements of this film. So there's a really interesting balance with that fantastical kind of Tim Burton Batman tone, as well as not making it too complicated, but making it complicated enough to really enjoy it. Definitely, I think it definitely goes for more of a younger adult audience than more of
definitely
than
kids.
Than the Chris Nolan or Matt Reeves Batmans, where I think they're very much for grown adults. Like you can get a lot out of those films compared to this, and I think sometimes when you look back at this film, especially, you feel like it does feel a tad basic, but at the same time, like, I think that's kind of a good thing anyway, because you don't want the plot to be too distracting from Tim Burton's tone and what he's trying to do with the style of the film. So it's an intricate balance. But for me, I think maybe like the tone and the Tim Burtonness of it all maybe gets in the way a little bit, and maybe they could have made Penguin and Shrek, and even to a certain extent Catwoman, a bit more interesting in what they're trying to do, and maybe make Batman and his battle with the Penguin and Shrek a little bit more interesting, a little bit more intricate, not by a lot, but just a little bit more. Whereas I think for me, it does feel a little bit basic in the end. But in the way the Penguin manipulates Gotham, because all the Penguin is doing is literally like remote controlling the Batmobile, and like just knocking over a few people. And I'm just like, that's about it. It doesn't feel like something. It doesn't feel that it's anything too massive. But
no, this isn't a Dark Knight Rises moment.
No, it doesn't feel anything too significant to really change the opinion of from Gotham. The opinion of Gotham to change their opinion on Batman. It's really clunkily put that, but yeah. What's your opinion on the whole plot of this film?
The whole plot, I guess, like as I said, I don't think it reaches the point of like Spider-Man 3 vibes of you got too many elements going into it. I feel like this is the type of movie that, I'm not saying I also miss it, but a movie that you can watch and it's not tied to anything. There's nothing really like, there's going to be another sequel, there's going to be another cameo, or, you've really got, it's not a Tenet. Oh, God, I can't even imagine a Batman Tenet movie. Like, oh, Jesus. But, we get introduced to all these characters, and it's pretty much from the start. Like, yep, I know what you want to do. Penguin, you want to take over the city. Shrek, you're a corrupt businessman. Michelle Pfeiffer, you want a Catwoman, Slay Carl, you want to get back at Shrek. And Batman, he's along here for the ride, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think it goes too much into. I think it gives you enough to root for the villain, root for the hero, but you don't need to go too much there. Like this is a film that you could leave for 20 minutes, come back, and you haven't missed anything.
It does feel like you can do that. Yeah,
really, or you could fall asleep for fall asleep for an hour in, and you're like, oh, what's happened? Oh, here's the villains. Here's that. Yep, I'm caught up. And you're good to go.
Do you see that as a bad thing, or it doesn't matter?
I see it as a good thing for for this being the very start with these Batman films at the time. Like, going to see this film, I think it's good, and I think it's probably one of the reasons why these Batman films have such the biggest high rewatchability. Is because you can just chuck it on, and you don't need to really work your mind. But it's again at the same time, it's the subtle things like the small details, with the cats, with Slay Kyle, small backstory with the Penguin. But at the same time, it's not like you really need to know those. Those are really more for, the more detailed movie fans like us, or comic fans. You're looking out for that. But if someone tells you, "Oh, the villain's named Penguin," you pretty much get that. "Oh, the villain's a corrupt businessman." Yep, I get it. But no, I don't think. I think Tim Burton with the screenplay with this is like, I think they're not saying they basically knew the characters, but enough to know of the characters that they didn't have to go too much in depth. And like, the audience will know half the work.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, definitely. I think the best part of this film is the dynamics between Batman and Catwoman. And there's a point in the film where Bruce Wayne has effectively stopped the Penguin's plan of becoming the mayor and is invited to this masked ball. And the only reason he goes is because Selina Kyle might be there, and he just feels compelled to go there because she's the only one he can relate to. Like, this person's life is like a double life with a little bit of crazy in them, just like Batman. Plus, I love the added irony that everyone at the ball is wearing masks apart from Batman and Catwoman. Yes. And in the end, they're both kind of lonely people where nobody really understands them but each other. That's why he's willing to unmask at the end and wants to be together and not be Batman anymore, really. But Selina says, I just couldn't live with myself, so don't pretend this is going to be a happy ending. And it's like Selina Kyle just wants her fate to be in her own paws.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So I feel like this film's strength is definitely Catwoman for sure. And then obviously Danny DeVito's Penguin is great as well as kind of the disgusting side of Penguin. It's just he's a very villainous villain.
Oh, like the fish scene.
Do we need Matt Shrek in this? I know it feels like, Selina Kyle is connected with her with Shrek, and she wants revenge on Shrek and Batman, but I just feel like then Batman gets a little bit lost with the whole Shrek stuff, with him trying to consume all the power and get all the money from Gotham, blah blah blah. And I just wished the film would really focus more on the three proper comic book characters in Batman, Catwoman, and Penguin. I just feel like the film is top heavy with Shrek and Penguin, and there's just not enough Catwoman. Because when we do see Catwoman, they're the best scenes in the film. And as I said, like, she's kind of the subplot in this film, and the subplot is the way more interesting part of the film than the actual main plot with Shrek and Penguin. So it's just like, can the Shrek and Penguin stuff be the subplot and have the main plot with Catwoman and Batman? Just flip it round, and I think this film would be like so much better. And maybe even just put Catwoman as the main villain here. Why not? Like, she's such a great actress, and it's just such a great performance by Michelle Pfeiffer that I just feel like they maybe have missed a trick here, because as I said, the dynamics between Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle and Batman and Catwoman are the most fascinating to watch, because they're basically the same person, kind of. There's a lot of similarities between them, and I just feel like maybe they should have pushed that storyline a little bit more for me.
I could definitely see that. I do think Shrek is the fifth man, third wheel in this whole thing. Because when you talk about Batman Returns, I really can't wait to see Christopher Walken play Shrek. He played a really good villain.
Yeah,
he's like the fifth person on the whole listing that you actually think of going into this film. And I agree with you. I think you could still have got Penguin trying to become the mayor without Shrek's help. You could have still been that. It could have been Batman going, oh, like there's this Catwoman. Well, that's the thing, is like Catwoman. Obviously, she's a master thief. It could have been, which we've seen in multiple iterations, where which we saw in Dark Knight Rises, where she steals the pearls, Martha's pearls. That could have been a complete plot of them together, and Penguin still coming up to become the mayor. Because, Shrek, I think, is just, I don't know, like just there to fill the gaps between the connections.
I mean, like, Christopher Walken is really good in the role. There's no doubt about that. And the character himself is really interesting. But, like, at the end of the day, this is a comic book film, and with really wacky and weird characters. And, like, he tries to bring enough wackiness and weirdness to a normal human being as possible, I guess, in his own Christopher Walken way. But, like, we're not here to see him, really. And I think, frankly, it's about time that we see a Batman film where Catwoman is the main villain. Why not? She's interesting enough to be a main villain in a Batman movie, and then you've got three Batman films where she is like a side character, and it's just a bit frustrating. Do you agree with that, or am I talking nonsense?
No. The thing is, I don't think she could be the main villain, because she doesn't have the weight of the craziness or the explosiveness of what, like a Joker or a Penguin or a Riddler, which actually, a Riddler could be another argument in itself, but I don't think he has that main thing. But at the same time, the plot of her being a love interest, him almost giving up to be Batman with her, you could still fit 3/4 of the movie with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I just don't think she has the weight to be the main villain without being too much of a love story. for a small story, if you will. Because she's in a decent amount of film for Matt Reeves' Batman, and she has a good bunch of action scenes in that, especially the plot twist of who her father is and how that's all connected, which I think was a great thing to add to it. But again, she's overshadowed by the Riddler.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, how would you do a film where it's just where Catwoman's the main villain?
Yeah, it's difficult, but yeah.
We saw what happened with Catwoman and Halle Berry.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it is possible though, because I feel like with Catwoman, there's always this duality with the character. Is she like Batman's aide? Is she with Batman? Is she on his side? Or is she actually trying to con him or directly being the villain of this particular story? So from that point of view, I kind of would love to see a Batman film kind of maybe even just solely focused on that kind of idea and not even necessarily having a big bad in the end of your movie or whatever. But
what about a smaller bad, like a Clayface?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like not a big bad like the Joker, but like Clayface, for example, he's impersonating.
Yeah, could do.
Where you still got that going on. That's still a threat, but not like a hospital's not going to blow up.
Funny, interesting lines. I've got a bunch. And weird lines as well, I should say. Hell, the sexes are equal with their erogenous zones blown sky high. Which is weird. I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier from Catwoman.
My favorite one that always gets me is like, Bruce Wayne, why are you pretending to be Batman? He's like, he is Batman, you idiot.
Yeah, why are you dressed up as Batman?
Oh, you moron. Sorry, you moron. Yeah, that's always one of my favorites.
Yeah. Be gentle, it's my first time.
It's funny when you look at these small lines, you're like...
So many sexual overtones, it's crazy.
I'm like, that actually is kind of weird.
I'm Catwoman, hear me roar. And then
yes, I had that one.
That's cool. Selena, that's my name. Maximilians, don't wear it out, or I'll make you buy me a new one. There's so many Catwoman ones. It's great.
Again, it shows you the fact how she is the hero of this entire movie.
Yeah. Some weird Penguin ones in that kind of that media scene where Max Shrek gives him this surprise, and then when he's like really into it and sees one of those, secretary women, and he's just like, I like to fill her void. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? Did he just say that?
I know.
Okay.
I know. And it's funny because you're like, yeah, I don't need to imagine that, and I don't need to see it at all.
No. How about a kiss, Sandy Claus? No hard feelings then. Actually, semi-hard, I'd say.
I got one of those.
I feel like the writer of this has some real issues in the bedroom or something. I don't know.
Well, one of my favorites is what I feel like has been quoted so many times in so many different memes. It's like when Selena's like, "Oh, honey, I'm home." Oh, that's right. I'm not married. And I feel like I've seen that same scene in like 3 different shows and movies.
I kind of like one of the first ironic lines from the Penguin when Max Shrek sees him for the first time, and he's like, I believe the word you're looking for is when Max Shrek just looks at him like blankly.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Another great one from the Penguin in that kind of same media scene, when a guy is just kind of really irritating the Penguin, and he says, could be worse, my nose could be gushing blood. And the next thing you know, he's literally bit his nose off, and you're like, oh my God.
Oh, I know. That scene, I was like, oh God, that's creepy.
The one when Boaz was on the show and when we covered it, Boaz just found this line just really funny, and it's just really weird and strange from Max Shrek. And he says to the Penguin when he's trying to convince him to be mayor, and he says, Imagine you'll have the ear of the media, access to captains of industry, unlimited poontang. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I missed that one. But
yeah.
But you're right. Actually, there was a lot more sexual undertones in this.
Yes,
and like a lot from Penguin.
And this is supposed to be for kids, I think. Is it? Yeah. I can't remember whether this was a 15 or not.
Well, it was meant to be for kids because this was the whole reason why Batman 3 didn't get made, was because Warner Brothers were like, whoa, what are you making?
Yeah. I think one of my favourites, though, is probably Life's a Bitch, Now So Am I, from Catwoman.
Yeah, again, from Catwoman.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite then for you, Leigh?
No, mine's still he is Batman, you moron. That is my favourite.
Yeah.
From there. But again, like most of like the three I've written down were all Catwoman.
Yeah.
And you said you've already said one of them already. So, but these are the quotes that stick in your head.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
And again you go back and go, someone really wrote that on a script and was like, yeah, that's going in.
Yeah.
That's going in.
It's like, really? Are we really not going to put off lots of people? No, it's fine.
Yeah. That's fine. It's for kids.
We can use poontang.
Yeah. Kids don't know what that means. Let's put it in. Put it right next to the Rocket Penguins.
Oh, God. It's in my head now. Right. Screenplay score for me for Batman Returns. Yeah, so I think, certainly the film, I think, could be a little bit more nuanced for me and a slightly more interesting in terms of plot. And I definitely wanted more Catwoman in there and give her a bigger role than just... Because unfortunately for me, as I said, like the subplot with her and her dynamics with Batman are the more interesting parts of this film compared to the main plot. And that's a problem. So, but at the same time, like there's so many really good lines from Catwoman. Yes, there's a lot of like weird lines as well. You're like, did they just say that? But there's some really iconic stuff with the dialogue. So I think, and again, like, Tim Burton, I think, just pushes the tone a little bit too far sometimes, but not as badly as and grievously as the Schumacher films. Absolutely not. But
no.
So I'll probably go like a 7.9 for me. How about you, sir?
I'll probably give it an 8.
Yeah?
I'll give it an 8. Those two, there's definitely more meat on the table that they could have done differently or changed up. But, for what we did get, the lines, the interactions with all of them, they all have a moment. They all have a standout moment.
Mm.
And there isn't... Actually, I can't really think of a scene or a line where I was besides it being funny, like I want to fill a void, but not like... like, it doesn't fit, or that doesn't really make sense.
Mm.
More of a chuckle than I go, oh, yeah, that was a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I'll give it 8.
Yeah, cool. Right, acting then. There's like a little moment from Michelle Pfeiffer after Batman saves her near the beginning. Like there's a brilliant sinister look from her to make sure no one's looking at her and zaps the guy on the ground just for the hell of it. Like it's the first moment you see that this character is a bit sadistic, when previously she's been this very bumbling secretary. So yeah, that was a little great initial moment of her becoming Catwoman before she officially becomes Catwoman. So I thought that was a nice little touch there.
I think acting wise, I know we've already said pretty much, but I feel like Michelle Pfeiffer did the best acting. And look, she had the same type of scenes that we got from, very similar scenes to what we got from Michael Keaton in the first Batman. Meaning you saw the difference in the persona of Bruce Wayne and Batman, the difference between that. And then you got which was portrayed really well. And then you got Michelle Pfeiffer, who portrayed it so well. She's slightly hunched over. She's like, all stumbling and falling. But when she's Catwoman, she's standing up straight. She's strong. She looks like she's going to whip you in the jaw and keep going. Yeah. But, still has those humble slow moments, like at the ball, where she's like at half and half. Yeah. And Penguin, you could tell Danny DeVito just had so much fun with this. Like, he just looked at the script and was like, "Yeah, I don't need to do some fantastic acting. I just need to have a lot of fun."
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Yeah. Danny DeVito just brings this real, like, animalistic aspect to his acting. Like, he always seems to be grunting in between each word with his dialogue. You know, it's really quite animalistic, I think is the word I would go for. And it's just like, he feels like a proper villain in this movie for sure. And, you know, there's not a lot of... What's kind of really great is that he feels more penguin-like than a human, which I think is really impressive. You know, whereas a lot of the other penguin, you know, performances in the Batman in Batman history is that they definitely feel more human than penguin-like, and with this they definitely flip it on his head, and I think it's great. I think Danny DeVito is pretty remarkable, and like his costuming and the makeup is just purely disgusting.
It is, and it's like, again, like that's like dark and gritty and rough, and then of course, you know, his blood being black.
Yeah,
like again moving away from being human.
I love the acting from Michelle Pfeiffer and Christopher Walken as Max Schreck before he pushes Selena Kyle through the window. Like, Walken and Pfeiffer are like slowly walking to the window, and it's going as expected, you know, Walken being quietly intimidating, and then Pfeiffer says, "It's not like you can just kill me." Then Walken says, "Actually, it's a lot like that." And Walken leans in, and you expect Walken to push her, but no, they both start laughing, completely breaking the tension. But it's a double bluff, and he pushes her through the window moments later. And the dynamics work brilliantly, and it's all from the acting in that scene. Yeah, really convincing from those two.
But good misdirecting, like, yeah, he's not going to actually do it. Oh wait, this is a Batman film.
Yeah. But it's not like Tim Burton, like, really driving that scene. It's Michelle Pfeiffer and Christopher Walken for sure.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah. I loved how dark and violent this film is at times, especially with Danny DeVito's Penguin. I think I've mentioned it briefly in lines, but there's a scene where, like, Max Schreck surprises the Penguin with these kind of media resources at his disposal, and all these media people are like disrespecting him. And one guy says, "Not a lot of reflective surfaces down in the sewers, huh?" And they all start hysterically laughing. Then Danny DeVito says, "Still, it could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood." Then the guy looks confused. And then the next thing you know, Danny DeVito is biting his nose off. You know, the shot is really tight in, and they don't shy away from it at all. And it's one of the best moments from Danny DeVito, making the Penguin feel quite scary and unpredictable and really disgusting, especially with that poor fish in his hands moments earlier. It's like, ew, stop eating that again. And they go quite close in on that at times.
And he's roughly eating it too. Like, it's not like something small. Like, he's eating it like an animal, and it's just all over his face.
Yeah, it's... Ugh. Favorite performance for you? Who are you going for?
I would say Michelle Pfeiffer. Out of the two, like, the standouts, like, Danny DeVito did play a great villain, but Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job of playing that split character between the two. And Christopher Walken, he was Christopher Walken. Pretty in this. And then that's the thing, is like, you know, Michael Keaton, he didn't do a bad job.
No, absolutely not.
He still nails this. Again, it's just like nothing overly stand out of an acting performance.
Yeah, I think certainly if you compare it to the first movie, because there's that great scene between him, Bruce Wayne, as, you know, Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and the Joker, when he gets the tray and like smashes.
You want to get nuts?
Yeah. Let's get nuts. You know, there's nothing really like that, certainly from a Bruce Wayne perspective in this film, I don't think. It's weird because for a Batman film, I feel like he does get completely outshone by everyone else, which is a real shame. Or certainly almost feels like he does. Favorite performance for me, Michelle Pfeiffer, easily, as I said, the most iconic Catwoman we've ever had, and probably ever will be, frankly.
I was going to say that. Do you think it's ever going to be topped?
No, I don't think so. Acting score for you, Leigh? What are you going for Batman Returns?
Definitely not for Batman. But I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Only because all the side characters did a good job, but Michael Keaton just didn't do something. Yeah, right. It doesn't have that Joker moment, or it doesn't have that Bruce Wayne and Joker moment. I feel like he needs something like that in this movie, or some type of really acting moment in it.
I feel like he tries when he... I feel like he's gonna get there when he rips the mask off at the end, and you're like, oh, okay, Michael Keaton could be doing something special here.
But you've just revealed your identity.
But he only really notches it up like slightly. And I mean, he doesn't have to like go crazy, go nuts, like in the first film, as he says in dialogue, but it can be more of an emotional, sincere thing, but I just don't think he quite gets there. And again, he just gets drowned out by Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito. So I think for me, like, the acting, certainly from the villains, are pretty amazing. Like, I really love the acting in this film. And yeah, I think I will venture into the 8s, maybe like an 8.2. Yeah, so I agree. Like, Michael Keaton's best performance as Batman is the first movie, but you can't ignore like how good Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer are.
No.
So yeah, I think it's the best element of the film is the acting for me in this movie.
Yeah. They're literally my 7. Those two are the pure 7. But you're right, and yeah, what was a 1 for what would have been different in Batman 3?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, were there any rumors of like what the third Tim Burton movie was going to be? Who was going to be in it?
It was the third one. You were going to get Two-Face, and you were going to get the Riddler.
Right.
Pretty sure out there you can see concept art of what they're going to look like.
Well, and then Schumacher just took over then, and he
just didn't do it, and because Tim Burton was out, Michael Keaton was out, so they completely flipped the script.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, they kept in Tim Burton. They kept in Two-Face.
Michael Goff. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Goff. Yeah, that always confused me when I was a kid. I was like, different Batman, but the Butler's still the same. So is it the same universe?
Yeah.
But more I watch, the lighter it gets.
Yeah.
I forgot. He's Han Solo. Lando. The guy who plays Lando. He was going to play Two-Face. Yeah. But ironically, he did actually get to play Two-Face in the end in Lego Batman. So he still got to play the character. But and I think how much of a stretch you want to get onto, but there was rumors that Robin Williams was looking at playing the Riddler after he was rumored to play the Joker for Jack Nicholson. Yeah. So that was a concept, and I think in the interview Michael Keaton did say is like, if Tim's not back, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I think, which is probably the right thing to do, really.
Yeah. Well,
right. Yeah.
I was going to say, well, I couldn't imagine Michael Keaton's Batman and Michael Schumacher's.
No. It's like, don't you dare put nipples on my suit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not doing that. No way.
No chance. Right, let's add up the scores then for Batman Returns.
Let's go. You see probably another little tidbit is, I don't know if we'll ever see it the light of day. Apparently it's like a 3-hour cut of Batman Forever.
Oh, really?
That Warner Brothers has. That apparently adds a whole bunch of scenes. And I'm like, that's not really a cut I really want to see at all.
No.
3 hours of bat nipples. And the Batman with Val Kilmer, the Batman who doesn't shut his mouth.
Right, Batman Returns gets 46.3. So Sleepy Hollow wins this episode with 48.5. Yay, I win an episode. I'm coming back, people. I'm coming back.
That's so sad. Like, I won in my own show.
Literally, like, the top 10 leaderboard is very goals with guest picks.
Yeah.
I don't think Sleepy Hollow will get into the top 10, but it's a win nonetheless.
Yeah, you still won this one.
Yeah. Next episode as Wolves. is coming out to the big screen. John Watts' new movie after he made one of the best Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man No Way Home. But we'll be talking about one of those stars and his films, and that star is George Clooney. So we'll be having a look at his movies. And we'll have guests for that episode from the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast. New guests, so that should be very exciting. Leigh, you have been amazing as always. It's always great talking movies with you. Tell the folks at home about your podcast and where can we find you, sir?
Well, you can find Lions Come Rant on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your local podcasts. And on YouTube, we go live every Sunday. If you're looking for a solid rant, I am your man. But look, Martin, I have to say, it's always a pleasure coming onto your show. These are always a great time. You never fail to disappoint. And as always, I can't wait till the next one.
Cool. Excellent. Right, it's time to say goodbye, people. I know it's very sad. It's goodbye from Leigh. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
And it's goodbye from me. It is approaching lunchtime, and I am not going to have fish. Nope. Not happening. Nope.
You sure? What about man's nose?
No, I don't think so. No. Bye-bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.